My name is Carlo Carrenho, but I'm here right now just to introduce Sherif Bakr. So Sherif Bakr is the general manager of Arabi Publishing and Distributing. He's majoring in economics from the Cairo University. I'm an economist too, so that's interesting. And he's the former general secretary of the Egyptian Publishing Association. But more important than all that, he's a bridge builder. So Sherif loves to build bridges between the Arab world and the rest of the world in the publishing industry, but also inside the Arab world, and just introducing people and connecting people and just celebrating the beauty of the human connection. So his publishing house was established 48 years ago. They publish more than 3,000 titles, and they have a series of contemporary literature translated books. That's now 300 books that they translated from crazy places from just like Brazil and Sweden, for instance. And they even have 4 Greek authors, so Amand Michapoulou, forgive my pronunciation, Christos Economou, Minos, that's a hard one, Ephestatidis, yes, and then Chrysopoulos. But the problem in his catalog, he's missing a Cypriot author. So we hope that this weekend we can fix this problem. Anyway, without further ado, I would like to give the stage now to my dear friend and my Egyptian doppelganger, Sherif Bakr.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind invitation. I'm so pleased to be here. I discovered on the way here that this is the closest trip I've ever had. It's only 1 hour from Cairo, which also means that we should cooperate more because we're just too close. And that, I think, was one of the essence of coming here is we're so close and we have a lot of similarities with problems and opportunities and challenges and everything. I will try to cover in my presentation 5 questions to let you know a little bit more about the Arab world and about the problems and the opportunities we share or we have. First, it's who am I? I mean, Carlo presented me very well, but I'm Sherif Bakr, as he said. I'm 48 years old, studied economics. I've been working in publishing full-time for 26 years in Arabi Publishing and Distributing. It's our family company, and it's 48 years old as well, a publishing house. And we were doing only Arabic books till 2010, when we started with my sister, who's my boss, a translation project. We called it Different Books. We saw a gap in the market in the Arab world, which is we only translate famous international authors, Booker Prize winners, Nobel, but nothing, or bestsellers, nothing really contemporary from other countries. And by the way, the EU prize was one of the things we used to discover countries that we don't know about. And we have a few on our list. And it was a way, if you go for, I don't know, Serbia, for instance, and you know nothing about the country, if you find a book that won an award like this, that means that someone there says that this is at least good quality, especially when you don't know anything about the language and everything. So thank you for this, it helps us. Though we don't get the grant for this from EU, but at least it sheds a light on the book. That's very useful. During the 13 years of our project, we have now actually now 350 titles, increasing, and from 65 countries. We have a map in our office, and we say we conquer the world. And whenever we get a new country, we put a pin in the country. So hopefully we'll put a pin here soon after this visit. Who are we? We, by we, I mean the Arab world. We're officially 22 countries speaking Arabic. Officially almost 436 million people speaking Arabic. So that sounds like a huge market. It is a huge market. But it's not all good like that because they don't read. The problem is we don't read. But I always say that we have the potential. Countries like Estonia, for instance, I was there and I was talking to the biggest publisher there. They are 1.3 million and decreasing, even not increasing. So sometimes it's better, by any change who happens in the Arab world, things will change. And we will be, I think, for many of the big publishers around the world, we're a potential and we're a power that's coming in the future, like China and India and stuff like that. But I always say we're closest to the Spanish market because it's one language, it's spoken by all countries, it's understood in all countries in written form, but there are different dialects between Lebanon, between the Gulf, between Morocco. Every country has its own dialect, but in books, in translation, it's almost the same, except if there is a dialogue, it's always a bit problematic, but we can read it all. So translated books can work everywhere with no problem. One of the important things in the Arab world are book fairs. Book fairs are the place where we used to only sell books between countries, so they are very important. They are a selling book fair, and they are huge. We have around 17, 18 book fairs. Some countries have more than one, but I'm talking about the major ones. They are around 18. And for instance, Cairo Book Fair last year had 3.5 million visitors. So it's quite big, but again, it's the problem of the money and the economics and everything. So that's two questions. The third is, what are the problems we have? Well, get ready. First, we have a problem with the culture of reading in the Arab world. Unfortunately, the education system makes the word book is like a traumatizing experience when you talk about it. So we, as a publishing house, we don't say books. We say stories, we say novels, we say literature. We don't say books that much because the books we had in school is really traumatizing. When I was a member of the Publishers Association, the General Secretary of the Publishers Association, we did a kind of focus group with the non-readers in Egypt, trying to know how to make them read. I remember it was so frustrating because some of them, even we said, like, what will happen if I put you in a room with a book, just you and the book? He said, I wouldn't touch it. But amazingly, there was one book that almost all the sessions talked about, and it was a book on the 5th grade. It was a story they had. It wasn't at my time, but everybody said that this is the book I remember, and this is the book that touched me. It was a kind of a kid's story, but it was with a twist at the end that made them very interesting. But so I was like so keen to know what is this book that touched all these people. And then I found, I think early this year, the government canceled this book and will substitute it with something else. So it tells you the way that things are, how they are thought about. Even when there is something like this, they try. I don't know why, because that was the only book, and it was in the news because all the people who were doing the news were touched when they read the book, but now it's not anymore. So we have this, we try to fight this, and those who pass through this experience and manage to get on the other side and read books, they are the ones that we see in the book fairs. We have a problem of distribution, though we are on the same geographically, we're all connected. It's not like we're separated. We're very close, but it's very difficult to pass by. It's part of the colonialism and what happened, so we're suffering because of this. So to get from one country to other by car or things, it's very difficult. Sometimes it's easier to go with a Schengen visa to European states than to go to Saudi Arabia, for instance, for some reason. So it's not easy sending books between us. We have censorship in some countries. You have to obtain kind of a certificate to get your books there. It's changing in Saudi Arabia now. Now it's automated. Now it's it's easier, but it's still a problem in Kuwait, in Emirates. They have this system. And of course, if the book is touching we always say the triangle, which is religion, politics, and sex. If it's so much hitting one of these that much, they tell you politely, please remove the book or the book doesn't come again. And if things occur again, you will not be at this book fair again. So it's kind of a dangerous thing. We have also the pricing problem. Well, in Egypt, we are kind of the cheapest place that we can price our books on everything, but in the Gulf, it's very expensive to have a book there, in other countries as well. So sometimes you benefit from this, but most of the time it's a challenge for us. Translation, as I told you, with all these accents, with all these languages, it depends on the translator, and the quality of the translation is always a big challenge that we face. We have recently huge economic problems facing the whole area. What happened in Lebanon with the currency suddenly, and you can't get your money out of the bank, and you can't transfer money. With Gaza, what's happening now, I mean, it's really terrible what's happening, and nobody is giving a damn about this, and it's causing a lot of problem. And with Egypt also, with the economic situation, we had 2 devaluations, and I think a 3rd one will hit soon, and I don't know where we're going. But for instance, last year in Frankfurt, €1 was 20 pounds. This year it's 40. So imagine what's happening for us on daily activity, especially when we work with translation and we have to pay money abroad and stuff. Let's talk about jobs that we don't have in the Arab world. The market is not really mature. It's getting mature now, but it's not. So we don't have editors in publishing houses, editing translations or editors. We have some kind of publishers who try to do somehow, but we have now few editors because there are awards. So it's worth it to have editor working for you. We don't have scouts. People don't know this word or what they do. And we don't have agents. Now we're starting like one agency in Sharjah, one agent from Lebanon who's been working, some few agencies starting now and then. And I think it will be very promising when it starts to make money for the authors and it becomes a prestige thing to get translated. For instance, we had one author from Sharjah who's been translated 7 times, 7 languages up till now, and he's right now actually in Brazil launching his book in Portuguese. So it works sometimes, but it's not a steady thing that we can depend on. Let's say how to do business with the Arab world. Well, no English. So many publishers, I mean, I worked with publishers in Egypt and the Arab world. Those who can speak English are unfortunately very few. So this is a big challenge that publishers have to face themselves, but we have a 2nd generation publishing coming from all the publishers. I'm one of them. I'm the oldest of the 2nd publishing generation, but we have a lot now who can speak more English and more exposed. For instance, we have culture barriers, like for instance, publishers don't like to say no in the Arab world. So if you represent a book for them, that's happened to a lot of agents and they always complain, they don't say no. They say like, oh, but they came and they sent us. I say just tell them no, because they want to offer the book to another publisher and they can't do this unless you say no. They don't like to reject. It feels like impolite to do that, so they have to understand this. Those who go to Frankfurt are very few, only 30, 50 publishers from the whole Arab world who are kind of regulars, and some of them went once or twice and couldn't continue because Frankfurt has its own dynamics that you can follow or you don't follow, so it's really difficult. But we'll come to the opportunities and we can overcome this. Of course, the negotiation and the advances and the payment and the sending of the book, these are all, sounds very little challenges, but we as a publisher who's old enough, these become a really big problem. To have to explain this whole economic situation to every agent that you meet. If someone is close, they would understand, but if someone is living in Lapland or whatever in Sweden, for them it's like ununderstandable that you can't send a book by mail from Egypt. First, it would cost a fortune to send it to America or even to here. This will be very difficult. We have to get approval and you have to pay a lot of money and you're not sure that it arrives. So even sending a book within Egypt is a challenge. It doesn't go sometimes, or the whole postal system is not really dependable. So you have to improvise. So what happens is, last year, which was the first year in Frankfurt after the 2 pandemic years, we carry books with us and deliver them by hand to publishers. So we found that it's cheaper to get my niece with us, with a plane ticket, to get her 2 bags with us. So we traveled with around 140 kilos of books to deliver them separately to publishers. And of course, for publishers, for agents and publishers, would always at the end of the list for them, because, I mean, we're the least profitable. I understand this, but sometimes they don't even reply to us. Let's keep this, let's be optimistic. That's the way I always think. And let's see what we can do. How can you do what to do with the Arab world? First, there are very good opportunities for publishers here and around the world if they want to do business. We have fellowship programs. We have one that I'm organizing. It's called Cairo Calling for Egypt. It just pays for your hotel, because, and not that much anyway, but anyways. But the opportunity is that Cairo is cheap. Coming to Cairo is not expensive. Staying there is not expensive. And you get to meet the whole Arab world in the book fair, because it's huge. And I'm talking really, really huge. It's on a Frankfurt level huge size, because we have 5 huge halls, and that's filled with people and publishers and books. So it's kind of a big event. Usually it's end of January, early February. There is the Sharjah Book Fair also, and they have their own fellowship, and they pay for everything, and they have a conference before. And there is the Abu Dhabi Book Fair, which will also start the fellowship this year, and they also will be paying for everything. But it's a different, of course, the Gulf is different than Egypt. I have tried to help with having something called Arab Voices, which is a magazine or a catalog with 36 voices from the Arab world, trying to get them translated, and it worked, and they got, because there was nothing professional done like that, and I'm not the agent for them or representing them, but we tried to give a chance. And there is a project with the EU also. It's called Laila, L-A-I-L-A, and it's representing Arab voices, but it's more diversified. They are more bold. They can do things we can do in this project. Also, you have to follow Arab Lit, which is a blog about Arabic literature done by Marsha Links. She's American who used to live in Egypt and now in Morocco, and she follows up very well on the news. Finally, there are grants that you can use. In Sharjah and in Abu Dhabi, they are the only ones who has. I think maybe Riyadh will do also. These grants you can use if you attend. You can sign books there for translation, and you get grants. We're trying to establish one in Egypt, but up till now we don't have, unfortunately. And finally, you have me. If you need to come to the Arab world or you need any information, you can always contact me. I'll be happy to support in this in any ways. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Sherif.
Thank you.
You can really count on Sherif. Just an anecdote, we're taking a cab here this morning, and the driver mentioned he's going to Cairo, and Sherif gave him his card and called me, I'll take you for dinner in Cairo. So if the taxi drivers can do it, the publishers can do it as well. But we're going to have questions from the public. I just want to start with one. You translate a lot, so you've been buying rights, as I said, from Brazil, Sweden, several countries. Mm-hmm. What a market, a small market like Cyprus, what it can do to make its books and its literature more visible and more attractive to foreign publishers like yourself?
As I said, it's always a challenge to find these markets, to find what books. When you don't know the language of the place, how would I know what books are here or are from Bosnia or from Montenegro or even from Sweden? So an agent or a representation, some kind of entity that can represent authors in English, that's very important. Having a catalog is very important. Having a grant system helps, because it's very risky to start with an unknown author for the Arab world. Sometimes he's like the best seller in his country. But for us, we know nothing about. So you have to have some support from the country, from the agent, from the whatever organization. And yeah, I mean, if you come and you ask for a lot of advances for an author that you're trying to introduce, you have to start something. And it's always a problem even with the covers. We always have this argument over the covers. My God, if you see the mails we do, some with, especially with like Dutch publishers and stuff, They don't like our covers at all. And I always say, and I don't like yours, by the way. There is a culture difference, you have to understand. Yours would never sell, and ours will never sell. We need more drama in our covers. We need more, like I know, for instance, that the Greek didn't like our covers that much because they're very Greek for them. It represents all the stereotypes. But yeah, I started this with many countries by the stereotypes, and then when we do a lot, you don't need to say anymore the stereotypes. You can just put the book with a cover that represents something and leave it there.
Do you have any questions from the audience? Or there? Then you. Oh. You can go first.
You were saying that it's difficult to distribute the books around the countries. Have you ever considered having a common books in print among the countries speaking the same language?
You mean cooperation, another publisher publishing there, or you mean
no, books
print
in print where you put all the bibliographical data and the metadata, and so you know which book has been published in Egypt and then which has been published in
Well, we don't have any database of the books coming out. Even the National Book Library in Egypt doesn't give us the data of the books, so we don't know. It's really struggling to know what sells and what doesn't. It depends on your instinct or what you see. There is no data that you can depend. But now there are some initiatives, for instance, for print on demand. One in Saudi, one in Emirates. So they struggle to make a data. For instance, Amazon opened in Egypt 2.5, 3 years ago, and they tried with books. Up till now, they are struggling because you don't have metadata, you don't have clear, like every publisher doesn't have his own info clear, and those who have, it doesn't work, so they have to invent a way. You know, some books, when they asked publishers to put a barcode on books, and they didn't have a barcode, they put the barcode of a yogurt thing. So when you scan, you would find it's yogurt coming out. Because a book fair said that books are not coming without a barcode. So you have to improvise. And we're very good in improvising in Egypt. So they took one from a yogurt, so when you scan it, you would find yogurt.
So the sales of yogurt have raised in Egypt?
I don't think so, not with books.
We have a question there? No. Then Nikos.
Thank you very much. Sherif, it is a great pleasure. I will just ask about the book as a mean, not the book as a product. In Europe, we have large migrants population, and many of European migration is coming from Arab-speaking countries. Mm-hmm. Do you recognize them as a potential audience, or they already have publishers in Arabic in Europe? Do you see as sector from original language country your role in bridging the potential gaps and helping the integration, for instance, integration as a two-way road, because we Europeans need probably better to understand our closest neighbors and relatives, historical relatives, mm-hmm. cultural relatives, I would say, which is the Arab-speaking world. And do you see any, how to say, potential ways to empower the existing Arab-speaking communities in European country by providing them probably educational and other books, so they participate with their own identity in their new destinations? Actually not new, because in some European countries you have fourth, fifth generations mm-hmm. Coming. I'm referring to France, Belgium, where you have Algerian or Moroccan, Tunisian communities and so on.
Those are not our target group, because those who already speak French perfectly, and they are not. But the first migration is very important. I know, for instance, in Sweden, Arabic is the second language spoken there. and they need books, but again, it's the same problems. If you want to send books, I was talking once to someone from Germany from the library system. They want to have books in the library because they have refugees or Arabs or immigrants or whatever you call them, and they want to have books, but they have to have it the German way, so they have to have the metadata properly, and they have to have an invoice done by this, and the tax has to be done like that, and to send them, they have to send them in a certain shipment with a certain way. All these logistics does not exist. You have to improvise, and then it becomes, the book cost, I don't know, 50 Egyptian pounds, and the whole thing would cost like 500 more. So it doesn't make sense then. There's some problems. But maybe I was hoping with the audio and ebooks that this can cross boundaries easily and be used easily. But till now, we don't see really that much change in the markets. I don't know if it's because of our shortage or also the other side is wants more to get integrated into Sweden, not into the Arabic world. So it's a good potential, but it's not, we didn't tap there yet.
Nikos?
Hi, Sherif.
Hi.
I just want to ask something related to rights. And since you mentioned that even though you have a language that is spoken by so many millions of people, and your countries are all very close together, but when you, as a publisher, buy rights from another country, do you, because that's happened to me and I don't know how to handle it sometimes, so do you buy rights that are for your territory, or you say, I will buy Arabic rights and I will sell your book in all of Arab-speaking countries, but the truth is that we know that you can't actually sell to every country. So how do you handle this?
Well,
and how would you suggest foreign publishers treat Arabic publishers when they deal in rights?
Well, for now, and I think the future will be always word rights when you sell Arabic. I mean, Gallimard started and wanted to sell separately, but you can't because our market is very small. So yeah, we're from Egypt. We sell mainly in Egypt. But what happens is I take my books and I go to Sharjah and we sell there to Abu Dhabi, to Rabat, to not Lebanon, we don't go to Iraq. So if I'm there and there is an Iraqi publisher who does the same book, we can't compete together. And the market is not that big, so we can just do it like, I think the English market, they do this. But for us, it's just way too small that you distribute it. Some publishers, I saw some experiments, let's say, of doing co-publishing. Like a publisher would publish the book in Egypt and a publisher in Tunisia. And I mean, they take the Moroccan, the Maghreb side, and this takes this side. But I don't see it as very successful. I mean, they didn't do that much. But it was about to save on the cost of printing and freight, sending the books and stuff. But for rights selling, for now you don't have, it's way too small market that you can defragment it according to countries or territories.
So you always buy world Arabic
rights, yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, last one.
Hi, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I have just one question. Given that one of the biggest problems that you described is distribution, yes, and moving books around in the Arab world. And I guess the other largest one for me was the culture of reading. Is there a way to use new technologies like e-books and audiobooks to tackle the problem of distribution, given that there is a young generation of Arabs that uses, technology? Arab Spring was an example in Egypt, how much through social media and all that. So is this a way to, first of all, cut the costs of distribution by producing digital formats which you can easily provide for everyone, plus promote the culture of reading through these formats? Is this something that is happening through the younger generation of publishers that you mentioned before? Is it something to explore?
Well, first, promoting the culture of reading, this is all done against the stream. So all these people who are reading, the 3.5 million, are coming against the stream. It makes, you know, just going to the book fair is a challenge because they move the book fair outside and it's far and people don't have money and you have to spend a lot of money just to go and come back. Yet these people have traveled against the stream to do that. About the technology, well, it was never dug into to see the result, but recently, not recently, there was an app that started, I think 2014, but never picked up that good. But 2 or 3 years ago, it's called Abjad. Abjad means ABC in Arabic. So it's a reading app for ebooks. And it's really, I wouldn't say revolutionized, but it really changed the whole aspect of this. It's a subscription model. So the subscription is equals to the price of 1 or 2 books per month, and you get to read a lot. And the lady working on it is from Jordan. She worked on it very well. The user experience is very good. The collection of books she has are very good. And it's accessible. And it came at the time where the prices of books suddenly increased with all the devaluation very much. So now people thought, I mean, everybody said, no, I love the book, the smell of the book, I like to hold it, I like all these emotional things. But when money came in, they bought like 2 or 3 books, and then they went to that. But this caused us another problem, because when I put my book on Abjad, people come at the stand and they say, oh, nice book. Oh, it's an Abjad. Okay, I'm not getting it. Oh, well. So now we have to select.
Sorry, aren't you getting rights out of it?
Yeah, but the rights from books on a reading app depends on people reading the book, how much they read from the book, how much the company made. So physical book, I always say, when you buy the book, I get the money. You read it, it got stolen, you throw it away, you didn't like it, I still got my money, even if you wrote 2 pages. But with ebooks, it depends. You have to have a completion rate in order for me to get paid, and you get paid not that much, of course, as much.
Thank you, Sherif. We don't have any more time, but you'll be here for the cocktail. We can discuss the whole streaming model and subscription to the end.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.